Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday, the 15th of April, 2021. We're going to pick up the story of David and Goliath where we left off yesterday, where David was expressing his confidence in the Lord and the things that God had done in the past and how God had done so much in the past. He knew he'd take care of them this time around. And great lessons for us going through trials. But now I have the actual confrontation. The giant Goliath comes out and he says, "Vicious thing are you, well, come to me and I'll give your flesh to the birds of the air and the beasts of the field." Very big and gruff and bullying and threatening and intimidating and scary and all those things. And that's how the world feels like to us, like to me sometimes. I think to all of us, that's how the world might feel. And David said to the Philistine, "You come to me with a sword and a spear and with a javelin." He says, "But I come to you in the name of the Lord of hosts, the God of the armies of Israel, whom you have defied." David came with confidence that he was doing God's work, and God's work couldn't be defeated. "This day the Lord will deliver you into my hand, and I'm going to strike you and take your head from you. And this day I'll give the carcass to the camp of the Philistines, to the birds of the air, and to the wild beasts of the field." Absolute confidence that God was going to give the victory. Why? At the end of verse 46, "That all the earth may know that there is a God in Israel. Then all this assembly shall know that the Lord does not save with sword and spear, for the battle is the Lord's, and he will give you into our hands." We as believers, we as Christians, seem to be very much outnumbered right now, and it seems like we're really in a losing battle. The stuff that's going on, and we talk about this every day, and the world is, it looks bad. Defeat after defeat, and churches being closed and fences being built around churches for having services, and pastors being arrested, going to jail, and receiving heavy fines. And countries like ours, or places like our little church, we don't even have a place to meet unless the community center is allowed to open. And trying to do the right thing, trying to obey God, and try to obey God by meeting together, but at the same time trying to obey God by loving our neighbors and being good testimonies. And it's just like, how do we get around this? And it keeps me awake at night. How do we get around these kind of battles? It's not as easy as it sounds to make the right decisions. But you know what? The world can't win. David said this. He says that all the assembly will know that the Lord does not save by sword and spear, but the battle is the Lord's. He will give it into our hands. The battle we're in, the challenges we're in, the fights we're in, the struggles we're in, the persecutions, the trials, tribulations, fears, testings, all those kind of things. The battle is not ours. We need to trust God and keep doing the right thing. Keep loving people. Keep sharing. Keep meeting people's needs. Keep sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ, no matter what happens. That's what the early church did. My goodness, for 400 years, basically, they were under severe persecution and going to jail and being persecuted for their faith. And still, they loved their Roman neighbors. They loved the anti-Christian Jewish neighbors. They loved them and did the right thing. They didn't take up arms. They didn't calls for an armed rebellion. They didn't call for an attack on Jerusalem. No, the battle was the Lord's and not theirs. And eventually they won. Eventually Rome capitulated and Rome fell and acknowledged the Christians and asked the Christians to pray for them. And all of our battles today, we need to face with the right spirit. The battle's not ours, it's God's battle. And if it's God's battle, we can't lose. We looked briefly at the last battle last week, when Jesus comes back with the Christians, and the remaining armies of earth are arrayed against him with their cannons pointed heavenward and their weapon artillery pointed up. And Jesus comes back and speaks a word, and the enemies are wiped out. And that's the power of God that we have. We have the knowledge to know that we have the victory. We can thanks be to God who give us the victory through the Lord Jesus Christ. The battle is not ours, it's God's. And we need to live our lives in such a way that people will know that there is a God, and God takes care of his people. And we can trust him to do the right thing. The battle is not ours. It's the Lord's. And God will give us the victory one day. We need to be patient, faithful, true to him, and trust him for that final victory, just like David was. And David gets the victory in this situation because he trusted God. Let's keep that in mind. We are the ultimate victors. We're going to win this thing eventually. So let's be faithful. God bless.